Hello everyone, I'm Best Guy and welcome to Best Top 5. For today's episode, we're going to be doing the top 5 Marvel movies. We're not just going to include movies in the cinematic universe, we're going to include movies in all of the Marvel properties, movies that were licensed to other studios. So for number 5, we have a movie that was released this year, starring Hugh Jackman, playing Wolverine in Logan. Logan was a really good surprise. It was directed by the same person who directed the Wolverine, James Mangold. That sounds like a porn star's name, man. I'm sorry, it just does. Mangold.
How do you know he's not?
Oh, no, that's true. But this movie, I sadly missed it in theaters. Everyone was, raving about it. I just didn't get a chance to watch it in theaters. But I saw it on Blu-ray, and it was great. It definitely has a Western feeling to it. It reminds me a lot of a movie called Shane. In respects to the whole story. I don't want to give any spoilers for this movie, but you have some really, really intense fight sequences. I think it's because of Deadpool, because that movie was rated R, that we got this film. But apparently Hugh Jackman said that this movie was intended to be rated R from the get-go. And it's great to finally see him using the claws and have some blood on it. And it's a shame that he's never going to play the role again. He says he might, but for the moment he says it's not intending to return to this role. But I really think this is one of the best movies released under the Marvel licensing. So for number 4, we have the second film from Captain America, and that's Captain America Winter Soldier. I know a lot of people are going to say, what the hell, you should mention Captain America Civil War. Personally, I prefer Winter Soldier over Civil War. While Civil War is a good movie on its own, every time I watch Civil War, I can't help but compare it to Batman v Superman in terms of the story. They both follow a very similar story. Someone in the background is making two heroes fight. In the case of Batman v Superman, it's Batman and Superman. In the case of Captain America Civil War, it's heroes fighting against each other. And the villain in Civil War is just not as strong. Then that's one of the problems that Marvel has a lot. Some of their villains aren't that great. But with Winter Soldier, I love the whole espionage element to it. I don't want to get into too many details because that will ruin certain twists. You have Robert Redford in this film playing a really cool role. And great acting all around, Chris Evans is great as Captain America. So that's number 4. For number 3, we have the movie that started the cinematic universe, and that is Iron Man, released in 2008, starring Robert Downey Jr. And I love this movie. Every time it's on TV or, I find it on demand or whatever, I can't help but, continue watching the whole film. And I saw this one in theaters back in 2008 and loved it. At the time, I didn't know that there was going to be a cinematic universe. It's not until you stay in the after credits that you see Nick Fury. Spoiler alert, this movie was released in 2008. We're in 2017 now. And I think everyone knows, who Nick Fury is, Samuel L. Jackson, who does a great job playing the role. But the greatest thing about the first Iron Man movie is that it's not just a cool superhero movie, but it's also a good origin story. You start seeing a great character arc. You see Robert Downey Jr. playing this kind of like alpha male, very irresponsible guy, bachelor, and he gets captured. And once he gets captured, he has to build this missile called the Jericho missile. And if he doesn't, he's going to get killed. So he decides to invent his way out by creating the first Iron Man suit. And from there, we have the whole story of him becoming the real Iron Man. And it's a great film to start a cinematic universe. And there's been other films that are better than Iron Man ever since, but there's a lot of them that still don't beat the first Iron Man movie, in my opinion. Like Iron Man 2 was a big disappointment and didn't beat Iron Man 1. So that's an example. So for number 2, we have Doctor Strange, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. This is a great movie. I loved it. I saw it in theaters, and I was pleasantly surprised at how entertaining this movie was. A lot of people compare it, I don't know why, to Inception, just because of the whole imagery and visual effects, but they're completely different stories. It has nothing to do with Inception. This movie, the funny thing is that it's more about mysticism and different religions rather than a typical superhero movie. And that's why I liked it so much, because it stays away from the ordinary and goes into a different realm, which I really enjoyed. And Benedict Cumberbatch, I think he's perfect for the role of this guy who's kind of like a douchebag. He's not exactly the most heroic guy, but he changes over the course of the film. Yeah, definitely watch Doctor Strange if you haven't seen it. It's really great. But there's a movie that's, in my opinion, still the best Marvel movie of all time, and is actually not in the cinematic universe. And that movie is SpiderMan 2. And a lot of people say, blasphemy, Spider-Man Homecoming is so much better. Spider-Man Homecoming was a really good movie. It was entertaining. I liked it, Tom Holland is good as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's actually way better than Andrew Garfield. But I still think to this day, personally, my favorite interpretation of Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. Some will disagree. That's fine. That's an opinion. But I think in terms of story arc, character arc, villain, Spider-Man 2 still holds up to this day. Sure, certain parts of the visual effects have, aged like any other movie, but the story is still so good. And I think there's also another version called Spider-Man 2.0 or 2.1 that adds a couple of more action scenes, a little bit more character development. Both versions are great. I think what Sam Raimi did with Spider-Man 2 still holds up to this day. So those are the top 5 Marvel movies of all time, in my opinion. This is not fact. This is just an opinion, so people don't get upset if I didn't mention a movie. But if there is a movie that I should have mentioned, please leave it in the comments section down below. I would love to see what are some of your favorite Marvel movies. So I'm Vest Guy. Please make sure to subscribe and check out all our awesome videos here on this channel. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Spider-Man 2, the best Marvel movie of all time. Until next time, guys.